I'd try to do something nice for my in-laws for once, and plan a big family trip to their dream destination, only for them to show up shamelessly at the airport with husband's ex-wife, and the kids she had by cheating on him, claiming their grandkids deserve a vacation too. So I canceled their trip too, and told them they can plan their own trip with their real daughter-in-law. Hi guys. I'm being called a lot of names because I didn't take my father-in-law Jacob, 58, male, and mother-in-law Alana, 56, female, on a trip with me and my husband, Ethan, 34, male. The two of us had decided to take Jacob and Alana on a vacation with us after I got a huge promotion at work. I was going to pay for everything and treat them to a good time. Everything was fine until they showed up at the airport with my husband's ex-wife and her kids in tow. They told us that they invited the ex-wife and the kids and we were supposed to pay for them as well. I canceled their part of the trip and told them that they won't be coming with us. There was a major argument where I told them that they could plan their own trip with their real daughter-in-law. Ethan and I went on the trip as planned and turned off our phones so that no one could disturb us. We were already a little shaken by what happened at the airport, but we managed to divert our attention and had a very fun vacation. But as soon as we came back and switched our phones back on, our inbox was flooded with messages and voicemails. Jacob and Alana sent us a total of 210 texts and voicemails. Basically, they said that they felt highly disrespected by our actions and are demanding that we apologize for disrespecting them and canceling the trip. They also want me to make things right somehow. I don't feel like we should apologize, but I'm going to leave that judgment to you guys. I trust you to give me some really unbiased opinion. So, please help me out. I'm going to provide some background on everything just so you guys can have a clear picture to make the right judgment. So, my husband has been married once before me. He married his college sweetheart Gina, 34, female at 24, and they stayed married for the next 3 years. After that, the marriage broke down because Ethan found out that Gina had been cheating on him. Cheating is a hard boundary for Ethan, so he left as soon as he could. Gina, of course, didn't like that one bit. She basically begged and pleaded with Ethan to stay for a whole year. She harassed him nonstop. What's worse is that Ethan's parents also began pressing him to forgive her. They weren't happy with the fact that Ethan was so quick to divorce the woman he called the love of his life. They also didn't like how he didn't even consider their opinion on the matter. The in-laws saw Gina as their daughter, so they were all very close. Instead of supporting Ethan, they chose to berate him and support Gina instead. It was a horrible time for Ethan because he was going through several heartbreaks. His marriage was ending. His parents weren't supportive about his decisions. By the time the divorce was finalized, Gina already had her firstborn son, and she had become desperate to get him back. His parents also kept telling Ethan that he should step up and be the parent the kid needs. It was also messy and stressful for Ethan, that he left his hometown and moved to another city. He even changed his phone number. He blocked Gina from everywhere and his parents didn't even have his personal phone number. He completely isolated himself from his parents to save what was left of his sanity. Ethan and I met during this time in the new city. We were friends and co-workers for a year before we started to date. He needed time and I agreed on taking things slow. We dated for 4 years before getting married 6 months ago. We moved back to his hometown a year before getting married. Both of us got very lucrative work opportunities here and we couldn't pass it up. Ethan and his parents had been talking and their relationship seemed to be on the mend, so we decided to take the leap of faith. We thought that we could have at least a decent relationship with my in-laws. We were wrong. They had been extremely dismissive of me since the day they met me. No matter how hard I tried, they would mostly ignore me and talk to me as little as possible. I tried my best to be friendly and win them over, but it was hard. We rarely met because of this. Plus, we discovered that they had kept in touch with Gina all this while and were practically grandparents to her now 2 kids. Ethan and I were both uncomfortable with this, but the in-laws just dismissed our feelings. Their logic was that they were free to be friendly with whoever they wanted. Fair enough, so we kept our distance. We did go to their place for dinner and all, but it was clear that they didn't care about me, and they didn't particularly want me there. There had been some drama at the wedding because Alana wanted us to invite Gina and the kids as their +1. After a major argument, we were able to shut that down. The wedding thankfully went without a hitch, and we thought that eventually things would improve. Spoiler alert, they didn't. Alana and Jacob would constantly talk about Gina and the kids, even when it was evident that we felt uncomfortable. They simply didn't care. Somehow, I still thought that maybe they would warm up to me eventually. I grew up in a close-knit family, so I have a bit of a people-pleasing side. Last month, I got a major promotion at work, so I decided to celebrate it with a vacation. We selected a destination where the in-laws always wanted to go. Since I had the money, I decided to invite them and pay for their share because I knew it was their dream destination. They happily agreed and we began planning. I think the last month had really raised our hopes and expectations. Alana and I were talking regularly and planning stuff together. It felt like we were finally getting close and they were warming up to us. Family dinners were not that awkward and overall very lively. Ethan and I genuinely thought that this would be the turning point in our relationship, but it was all for nothing. We were in for a rude awakening when we arrived at the airport on the first day of the trip. I had booked all their tickets as well, so we had to meet up before going on. Alana and Jacob showed up on time, but insisted that we wait a little. They wouldn't tell us why we were waiting. When we saw Gina walking towards us with the kids, we immediately knew what was up. The in-laws proudly announced that Gina and her kids were coming along with us. Why? Because their grandkids deserved a vacation, too. And Gina, of course, couldn't leave the kids with us, so she was invited along, too. Alana declared that they had already purchased the flight tickets for the three of them, so we didn't need to worry about it. But we had to figure out their accommodations and how to add them to our activities. They kept rambling about how we would plan stuff while Ethan and I stood there dumbfounded. Mind you, this was the first time Ethan and I had seen Gina since the divorce. Gina, of course, was eyeing me up and down while expectantly looking at Ethan. After a while, I just stopped my in-laws rambling and told them that Gina and the kids are not coming along with us and we were definitely not paying for them. There was an argument where Jacob and Alana basically told us that we were being unfair to exclude Gina and her kids after they invited them on the trip. Alana even said that since the tickets are already paid for, we should just be generous and take the poor single mother and her darling kids, too. After all, Jacob and Alana would hate to have a vacation without the kids, who they call their grandchildren. We argued for a while, but it was leading nowhere. I was getting mad at my in-laws, and in the heat of the moment, I decided to cancel their tickets. I simply don't want to waste my money on them after they had disrespected me and acted like entitled idiots. You already know what happens next. Ethan and I went on vacation and canceled their part of the trip. Now my in-laws are saying that I have been cruel and I have no humanity in me. They also said that I disrespected them and embarrassed them by canceling their trip and denying their guests. It's turned into a big crap show now and I don't know what to think. Did I really do something wrong? Should I have reacted some other way? Edit. Okay, that's way too many comments with questions. I know you guys want some more detail, so I'm just going to share it here. I got some weird comments about how my husband must be lying to me about the kids' paternity if his own parents feel so strongly about the kids. For the record, none of those kids had been raised by my husband for even a day. Ethan found out about the cheating and possible paternity confusion long before the eldest child was born. Gina was 7 months along when the cheating came out. Yes, he did spend the 7 months looking after Gina and expecting her eldest child to be his. However, the child never really knew him and vice versa because the cheating came out before Gina gave birth. Some of you have been questioning me and accusing Ethan of possibly lying about the children's paternity since Jacob and Alana feel so strongly about the kids being their grandkids. Well, I don't know if you guys are projecting or just genuinely suspicious, but the truth is that Ethan isn't their father. Prenatal DNA tests had been done, and it was found out that Ethan wasn't the father. To be very honest here, both Ethan and Gina wanted the paternity test to show Ethan as the father. Ethan had been really looking forward to having a child, and Gina knew that her affair partner would run for the hills if she tried to approach him for taking responsibility for the kid. Ethan did a lot of serious thinking and came to the conclusion that he wouldn't be able to overlook the cheating, let alone raise an affair child. So, he made the decision to leave. The court couldn't do much because DNA tests clearly said that he wasn't the father. He did have to pay a lot of money as a one-time settlement of the divorce. That decision drained him financially, but he desperately wanted to keep Gina away. So, it's not like Gina was suffering and on the streets. The in-laws had been paying her rent and giving her money anyway. Then after the divorce, she had plenty to build good savings for the kid and maintain their lives until she found a good job. I feel like Gina walked away with little to no consequences and actually came out rich after the divorce. As for her second child, well, Ethan had been long divorced from her and hadn't even visited his hometown in 2 years around the time she got pregnant. So, no, none of the kids belong to him. Jacob and Alana call them their grandkids because they are delusional. At this point, though, I feel like they truly are my in-laws' grandkids because Gina has clearly more value in their eyes than their own son. Update 1. I got some really valuable insights from the comments and I honestly didn't think that so many of you would chime in and offer your 2 cents. 100 comments on my post have been sort of surprising for me. I am glad that this post didn't go too viral though. I don't really want this floating around. I did use fake names and all, but I really don't want people to find out who we are. It's not like I have anything to hide. It's just that I don't want the kids to somehow suffer because I decided to vent to internet strangers. Contrary to what some of you think, I do have compassion for the kids. None of this is their fault. Frankly speaking, I don't care if Jacob and Alana continue treating them like their grandkids. Ethan is hurt about it, but he would have overlooked that too if they hadn't continuously pushed the kids into our lives. They know that it makes us uncomfortable, but they still pull stunts like this and then try to guilt us into doing what they want. Ethan and I usually leave and put the in-laws on a timeout when this happens. This was literally the last straw. I still can't believe that they had expected Ethan and I to fund Gina and her kids' vacation as well. It's too much for us to even comprehend. When I straight up told them that I won't be paying a cent for Gina and her kids, they had the nerve to nonchalantly ask Ethan to pay their share. I missed mentioning this in the original post. There are more reasons than one why we decided to ditch my in-laws and told them that they would never get to vacation on our dime again. I always knew that Jacob and Alana didn't particularly care for me, but this was just downright disrespectful. Not to mention that they repeatedly stepped all over their son's feelings to give their grandchildren and daughter-in-law a free vacation. I have realized I don't owe them and their bonus family a grand vacation on my dime. I wanted to do a nice thing for them, but they crapped all over it. I already vowed that this is going to be my last attempt at winning them over or doing something nice for them. My husband and I had a great vacation and this just destroyed whatever fun we managed to have. We are not sorry that we went on vacation without the in-laws, but we are annoyed that they managed to ruin the trip. At first, I thought that maybe I should apologize to them for hurting their feelings, but now I am convinced that they deserve this treatment. My husband already told me that I did nothing wrong and you guys just helped me seal my decision. So, thank you for that, guys. Now, many of you jumped on the no contact bandwagon, but Ethan and I are still a little skeptical about that right now. Despite everything, we still think that we should have a little talk with my in-laws about what happened. We will express our feelings and perspective to them once again and try to make them realize that they are hurting us. If they understand us, we will try to find some middle ground and set new boundaries. If they don't understand us, I guess we will think about going low contact if not no contact altogether. I know you guys may be a little frustrated at this, but it's what we think is best right now. I will make an update after having this talk and tell you guys what happened. I may need some advice, so I will shamelessly come back here for help. Update 2. We went to talk to my in-laws and it didn't go well at all. Ethan and I thought that we should have a little sit down and tell them about our feelings and disappointment. Jacob and Alana heard what we had to say. But unfortunately, they weren't interested in what we had to say. Jacob and Alana had other plans. They started telling us what they wanted us to do. More specifically, what they wanted Ethan to do. They wanted Ethan to leave me and get with Gina again. She's a poor single mother and her innocent kids are suffering without a father figure in their lives. Ethan needs to think about them and give Gina another chance. Apparently, Gina has changed and really loves Ethan, so she is willing to do anything for him. The in-laws have never stopped considering her a daughter. So things would just be so much better if Ethan just did what is best for everyone here, and that is marrying Gina again. Some of you really called it. They want Ethan to take Gina back and be the kid's father. My in-laws are just something else. They have absolutely no regard for their son and his feelings. I'm not even going to get into my feelings and boundaries because they clearly never cared for me. I was right in telling them that Gina is their real daughter-in-law because that's the reality after all. I don't know why my in-laws have been so offended by me since they literally do consider Gina the real daughter-in-law. I am literally shaking my head as I type this out. My husband and I had gone above and beyond to overlook whatever boundaries the in-laws had crossed so far. We even went over to their house to try and talk this out. Both of us felt extremely disrespected at the airport, but we still wanted to give them a chance to apologize and understand our perspective. We were clearly expecting way too much from them. The in-laws haven't been able to move on from my husband's first marriage. I was extremely mad when they asked Ethan to get back with his ex, but I think Ethan is the one who has been affected worst by this. He looked heartbroken, extremely sad when his parents berated him for not giving Gina another chance and not stepping up to be the kid's father since that's what they need right now. He was completely speechless and couldn't even form a reply. It was I who yelled and screamed at them before taking my husband and leaving. Ever since we came back, Ethan has been extremely depressed, and I even caught him crying yesterday. He hasn't said much except for how he can't believe his parents don't care about him one bit. I think it's high time that we go no contact with them. But this has to be a joint decision. Once my husband is in a better headspace, we will talk about this. For now, the two of us will be coming to terms with what happened while also dodging all the stupid texts that my in-laws are sending us. These two are just relentless. Also, their sense of entitlement is out of bounds. Gina hasn't reached out to either of us, so at least that's a good thing. I don't know if she is a part of this problem or just a silent spectator. Guess we will eventually figure that out too. Update 3. So, I don't know what to think right now. I barely had the time to make this update. This is going to be an open update because we still have a lot of questions and stuff. My husband's also a major wreck right now, which is why I have been dedicating my time and attention to him. Things have taken a drastic turn after my father-in-law, Jacob, showed up at our house yesterday. He looked really uncomfortable and uneasy, just like we were. We didn't even know if letting him in was a good idea. But Jacob kept insisting that we hear him out because what he wanted to say was important. We really weren't prepared for what he was about to reveal. So, right off the bat, he apologized to both me and Ethan. He was super emotional and kept saying sorry for all that had happened. Jacob and Ethan mostly talked and it was the single most uncomfortable conversation I ever witnessed. Jacob revealed that he was more or less going along with whatever his wife said or did. Keeping in connection with Gina and supporting her after the cheating was mostly Alana's idea. And somehow Jacob thought it was the right thing to do. I mean, why wouldn't he? Because he forgave Alana for cheating on him. So, it's natural that he would support Gina. Mind you, this was something none of us knew. Ethan was completely taken aback when this was revealed. Jacob told us that Alana had cheated on him and he found out about it when Ethan was 2 years old. He stayed for the sake of his kid and chose to forgive Alana. So when Ethan wanted to do the opposite of what he did, Jacob was sort of mad about the situation. He didn't want to seem like a hypocrite. So he supported Gina and her child. Also, he was too invested in the idea of having a grandchild and didn't realize that he was pushing his own child away because of this. He apparently had a rude awakening when Ethan moved away and cut contact with them. For years, he tried to reach out to his son, and he was the one who pushed for reconciliation when Ethan came back. To be very honest, he hasn't been as pushy about the grandkids as Alana was. He was hesitant to invite Gina and the kids on a vacation, but Alana convinced him that it would be a great opportunity to make Ethan see that they could be a family. The plan was to isolate me so that Ethan would be stuck with Gina and the kids and somehow would come to the realization that them being a family is still possible and probably the best for everyone. Jacob said that he was uncomfortable by this, but thought he was doing the right thing by caring about two innocent kids and trying to build a family for them. After the big blow up at the airport, he has been questioning if what he's doing is right. Still, the full extent of his actions didn't register until he saw how disappointed and sad Ethan looked that day at his house. Again, Alana did most of the talking that day, so I can see that Jacob wasn't 100% dedicated to what he was selling. Ethan and I went radio silent after that day, and Jacob finally realized that he may have lost his son for good this time. He begged Alana to drop the nonsense, but she kept telling him that this was the right thing to do. In the end, a different sort of doubt kept cropping in his head. Jacob now thinks there's a possibility Ethan isn't his kid. He never questioned his son's paternity before simply because it never occurred to him that Ethan may not be his son. Now he's having doubts. I won't get into any more details of what was said, but I will tell you that they are taking a DNA test to confirm. It was Ethan who wanted to know. He said he won't deny his father the knowledge of his paternity. The entire thing has broken Ethan completely. He broke down and had a panic attack right after Jacob left. Jacob was also not in the best health because he cried a lot and looked equally broken. I don't know if he has discussed his doubts with his wife though. On other news, Gina reached out to Ethan recently. Basically, Alana gave her the courage to express her feelings to Ethan and beg for another chance. She made this long text about how she's so sorry and now she's a changed woman. So everything will be fine the second time around. She also said some melodramatic stuff about her being a poor, single mother and her kids growing up without a father. It was just plain desperate and pathetic. She is convinced that they will be a very happy family if he just forgives her and starts fresh with her. No mention of me or anything. It's like I just don't exist to these people. Not that I care what Gina thinks about me. And after what I learned, I don't care if Alana doesn't consider me a daughter-in-law. I don't even care anymore. I would rather just go no contact with her and call it a day. We're still deciding on what to do, but we are leaning towards cutting her off. As for Jacob, we need time to decide what to do. All we can do now is wait for the DNA test results. Update 4. Hi guys, I'm so sorry for going missing from the sub. I know that lots of you have been waiting for an update and I could have come here sooner, but I really had a lot of things to deal with, so I didn't have the time. I got busy with life events and work, so I didn't have time to make an update. But today is the day I tell you what happened. So, the DNA test was done and the results confirmed our worst fears. Ethan isn't Jacob's biological child. No wonder Alana was so adamant that Ethan make things work with Gina and her kids. She probably wanted to make an example of Jacob if she was ever caught. I don't know for sure, but this is the only explanation I have. I guess Alana really sympathized with Gina because of her own shortcomings. After the DNA results were declared, Ethan and Jacob confronted Alana. I was present there on my husband's request, but I stayed silent because it wasn't my battle. Alana denied everything and even suggested that I was putting ideas in their heads. Then Jacob whipped out the DNA test results, which made her go completely pale. There was a lot of screaming and crying. Alana didn't say anything. She just cried while Ethan and Jacob went ballistic at her. It was a major fight that broke the family. Correction. Alana's actions broke the family. Jacob straight up said that he will divorce her and he has already filed despite Alana's objections and pleadings. As for Ethan and I, we have gone completely no contact with Alana. Ethan made it very clear to Alana that he was done with her and he would rather protect his family than have a sorry excuse of a mother like her. Ethan had been particularly protective about me, especially because I found out I was pregnant a day after the DNA tests came back. Yes, we were all frazzled, but Ethan said that the news really changed him. He realized that instead of lamenting over his mother's actions, he needed to stand up for himself and his family. He said he simply cannot imagine doing to his kid what his mother did to him. He got a better perspective of the situation which helped him stand up for himself. We are now completely no contact with Alana. She hasn't taken this well at all. By the way, Alana's pretending that the paternity thing isn't a big deal and Ethan should just forget about the DNA tests. We let her ramble until we blocked her. She realized pretty soon that she just couldn't manipulate us anymore. So, she changed her tune fast, especially after she found out about the pregnancy. And now she's vowing to cut contact with Gina and her kids. I really feel bad for the kids. They definitely didn't deserve this. Gina is another story. She showed up at our house screaming and crying about how she had already told her kids that Ethan was going to be their dad and now she didn't know what to do. She tried to pin the blame on us and say that we were being cruel and unreasonable. The woman is just as delusional as my mother-in-law. Anyway, we sent her on her way and clearly told her that we will press charges for harassment and call the cops on her if we see her contacting us or coming near us. She tried harassing us for a few days, but eventually gave up. I don't have any information on her right now. Alana did try to get family members to change our minds and make us forgive her. But when we started to tell them what she actually did, we learned that Alana had been feeding them lies about why we cut her off. As soon as the news of the divorce became public, people backed off and even apologized for not hearing all sides and making rash judgments. We have chosen to forgive them, but are maintaining some distance. The same goes for Jacob. No matter what, Ethan and I simply cannot ignore the way he has also overlooked our feelings. Jacob has already apologized to us and is making amends. Jacob also told Ethan that he is his son since he raised him. The two of them occasionally talk and Jacob is going to have access to his grandchild, but we are still going to maintain some boundaries and take time to fully forgive Jacob. On many of your recommendations, Ethan joined therapy to deal with everything that happened. We also joined couples counseling just for good measure. Ethan is doing much better now that he has help. The two of us are now putting this all behind us and concentrating on the new member who is about to come into our lives. I hope you will wish us well. This is going to be the last update. So, well, this is it.